One. This is Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast. I need to get better at that. Let me say that again. This is Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast. And I have with me Jed Kobernusz. And thank you so much, Jed, for joining me, man. I've been practicing how to say your last name. I got it right.
You absolutely got it right. Like, there are many people at all who get that right. You and a car salesperson, and I can't say salesman because it was a woman, and she's like, "Yeah, Jed Kobernusz," and I'm like, "No way! Did I just hear that? I'm buying a car from you, lady." So
yeah, she did her homework, right? She did her homework. So
yeah, totally.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, let me say how we met, and then like the purpose of this. We're connected on LinkedIn. And I saw you were connected to a couple other people that I follow who are in the fitness industry, and you were doing some insane daily WOD. I think you're like up to almost 400 right now, right?
Close to 1,000, 5 days to 1,000.
5 days to 1,000. Okay, so all right. Yeah. So WODs for everybody else, workouts of the day. Generally, they are, when everybody hears the word WOD, workout of the day, that's connected to CrossFit, but you aren't necessarily CrossFit, right?
No, legally, I can't even say CrossFit. So let me throw that out. Yeah.
Hey, so what? Okay, so you were doing some push-ups, and I was just like, wow, really. I think I don't know. I want to say that I connected with you when you were almost about 300 or so, which means you were going for about a year, and then the feed goes on, and then I saw the feed again, and I said, well, let me see. And I think I went to your, I said, well, let me see if he's on YouTube as well. And so, because you were saying some things, but LinkedIn only does like 10 minutes worth of time. So I got over there and you had this thing called talk therapy. And I was just like, what is this? And they're like 10 minutes or less. For lack of better words, for somebody who's just getting there, they're like rants, things that are on the top of your brain, at least, or at least.
Yeah.
And after one of them, I said, "Oh man, I've got to interview this guy." And for the reason why, it's very interesting, because the Red Boot LLC is about purchasing apartment buildings, right? And we've been in the hunt. I have been in the hunt. And building teams and trying to work with people and figure out if we can make things happen. And man, it gets very discouraging. So in the process of all of that, I'm like, I need to work on mindset, right? Everybody says, oh, you got to do it again. You got to, just keep doing it. And it's like, yeah, that's great. And then you can go talk to other people who are in your industry. It becomes one of those I said, let me get outside of my industry, somebody I don't know, somebody, whatever. I connected with that talk therapy, and I reached out to you, and you were gracious enough to take some time away from your family to do this podcast. Thank you so much, Jed, for coming.
I appreciate you working around my schedule, man. Like I wake up 5 a.m. every morning. I have an hour to myself, have my own, schedule or whatever it is, work the 8 hours, come home, do the family, then it's 8 o'clock ish, in between whatever is going on. And then it's like, okay, well, what can I do from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11? I've read a ton of Gary Vaynerchuk. I've watched him. I all of his stuff. It's so there's 2 hours every night that a person has that you can just do something with. And I don't know. I just put it to some use, whether it's good or not. I don't know yet.
You definitely listen to Gary's advice about documenting and not, trying to put together this production thing. And I know some people have poo-poo, oh, you should do production. It should be over the top. It should be this, that, the third.
Right.
But you put out so much content that from an audio perspective, because these voice apps and everything, they're going to find you. You're out there. You're in the zeitgeist, if you will, in the mind of the internet. So that's a great thing. So let's do this. Again, we really haven't done a whole bunch of your bio is like 6 lines and they're like a phrase a piece. And I know I need to go and figure out who this guy is. So tell me about your background and, are you fully in your 9 to 5 also in the fitness industry, or how did that get you all working?
No,
That's a lot of stuff I'm throwing at you. I'll let you go however you want.
it's all good. Yeah, so like bio, so like, yeah, I had a hard time because I saw your email and it took me about a day to respond to that because, I mean, I don't really prepare for anything. Like I did, I stopped preparing after I graduated college. Like I graduated college in 2008 from North Dakota State University with a bachelor's degree in exercise science.
Oh, okay.
I worked 5 years at an inpatient chemical dependency treatment center. It was awesome. We specialized in traumatic brain injury. Like I was all in. I loved it. And I guess my only regret would be is listening to my boss who told me that, and best boss, ever. But I mean, like, he was like, yeah, this internet, this Twitter thing, this Facebook thing's really not going to go anywhere. And I listened to him and I'm like, okay, cool. YouTube, that's not going to go anywhere either. And I'm like, dang. So if there was one regret or like one thing that I probably would do over, it would be that, because I am out there
earlier because you're there now, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, I would have definitely. That's exactly it. Like put everything out there, not be afraid of like, well, what if somebody finds you? Be like, look at this internet. Like they're going to find you if they want to. Like exactly. They just are. So,
right. And like I stumbled on you. I didn't know that you had this whole YouTube presence that was outside of what, again, doing the. So first of all, let's go back to the push-ups. All right. Sure. Let's go back. Well, before we even get there, are you still working in Chemical Dependency Center, or are you working in, exercise in another context?
So we moved out of Minneapolis into my wife's hometown. It's way, way north. Like we're 5 miles to Canada. It's cold. Nobody really.
Very cool.
Yeah. Like
we were hearing really, one of your things. You were like -40.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. That's without wind, right? Like that's zero wind. Like the wind was like all the way up to it feels like is what we go by, like a -55, -58. Whatever. Like we just put on more clothes.
Man, I don't know if I could function in. I mean, when it gets to about 20 here, I'm like, okay, sure. I'm purple. I can't.
Yeah, dude,
I can't function.
It was 20. And we're in t-shirts, like, because -50 to 20, that's 70 degrees, right? Like,
man, that's amazing. That is.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom that. But okay, so
yeah, so we moved to an area that I knew full force, right? Like my wife's from here. She grew up. She's like, there aren't going to be many opportunities for exercise, or hell, even for people knowing what an exercise physiologist is, right? Like there aren't many, but in this area there are like zero. So like really zero.
Got it.
And that's okay. I knew. The internet's what it is. So we moved here and I was still working on the WODs, like putting them together, doing them. It took me 5 years to put the whole like 365 WOD journey together.
Okay. So let's pause. So a WOD is a workout of the day. How long is it for someone to do your WOD?
It just depends. So if you do one round, like I've been doing, it's maybe 5 minutes, right? 5 to 7 minutes. That's all I do every single day. 1 round minimum, right? If you do all 6 rounds, it could take up to 20, 25 minutes, at most. It's just wham, because I don't have time. Like I literally will say I don't have time to exercise, and I'm okay with it. I'm not looking to be, magazine cover ready. Would it be great? Cool. Yeah, let's do that. But man, like, let's be real, like 3 kids, a mortgage, right? Like, come on, like my wife, like we got stuff that I want to do also aside from being on a magazine cover. So I needed to create, which I couldn't find, a year-long program that would give me something to follow every single day. You don't need rest when you're working out 5 minutes, right? Like, come on. It's the consistency. That's why I put that as my cover.
So like you create that brand. That's your quote. Consistency is greater than intensity. For those
intensity, yeah. Exactly. Like my brand is a whole bunch. That's why my bio is so kind of all over the place, because I have like jedkobernusz.com is my brand. Like that's the one thing that I can always lean on, because I got consistency is greater than intensity. There's like the big one, which is if you're willing to change from the neck up, then you will change from the neck down. There's that.
That's the one I also resonated with. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're all right. You know, I say you got this all the time. So that's where YGT or YGT Fitness comes along. There's like do that, because I say always do that. Like, yeah, let's do that. And people pick up on that. And then there's just so many things. But talk therapy is one of those things that I used to do when I would drive a commute from Mound, Minnesota to South Minneapolis, right? And it was about an hour and a half. And before everybody started recording in their cars, I was this guy who strapped a camera to the center column of the car. So I would have to hold the phone or whatever I'm doing and be all unsafe, right? Like you see so many people doing nowadays. They're barely driving. They're more worried about their phone, right? Yeah. Well, I got real smart to the fact that you can't do anything to me. I'm already looking at my speedometer, AKA the camera, right? And that's where I just started the talk therapy, just like literally talking what we're doing right now without preparation, because then this, right? Not my consistency, but like your head, like your mind, your analytical mind can't get in the way. It can, but that's such a powerful piece to me that I used to do an hour and a half, right? Nobody watched those. Nobody has an hour and a half, to watch that. But right. I started at 10 minutes, or I started at 15. Instagram TV lets you go up to 15. LinkedIn lets you go to 10. And sometimes I do multiple in a day. Sometimes I do one a day. Sometimes I don't do any, but it just depends. Like,
so it was born out of you're driving an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
You're doing that, but why record yourself? What was the thing that, kind of said, I should record myself?
It's a presence, right? Like you get to just sit there and be and say whatever you want. You don't have to share it out, right? Like, and that's what I say. Probably most of them I challenge, I always say, I want to challenge you to try this tool too. Like anybody can do it. I just choose to put it on audio, one, because it's less room, like it takes up less data or whatever it is on my phone, like less space. And then I take a picture, and then I use the iMovie piece of it to combine those, and then it uploads a hell of a lot faster. Because again, right, I'm running on the iPhone 7S Plus, which is a relic in this day and age, but I make it work. Like it works very well, I think. And if somebody wants to say
YouTube as an editor as well, since you're just adding an image, I think you can add an image.
I can. I just go with what I know and leave it. Like that's what and then I find out that there's tags, and then you can get more views and all that. It's it's whatever you want to make it, but why do it? It's more or less, man, like it's so powerful, because even 10 minutes, like it is the consistency thing. Like even 10 minutes.
It was a presence, it's a presence. It was something, because, sometimes people do things because, oh, I was having a bad day. I was in a bad spot, and this thing helped me to kind of talk out my feelings, etc. It's like journaling for some people, but you have another way. And talk therapy is what I saw, or as I've listened to a couple of them already, is like, am I getting that right?
It is absolutely correct. I write journal every day. I meditate every day. Like it's just the routine. Like and it's crazy. It's funny we're talking about it. It's not crazy. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is not like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. I love it. Anyway, so I was just talking about this because on Saturdays and Sundays, I don't have a routine. It's more or less just, it's the weekend, right? I don't live for the weekend, but it's the weekend. So anyway, I don't do this routine and the whole day just seems so weird, so backwards almost, because I don't do this stuff right away in the morning. And And now that I'm really talking it, this is kind of a talk therapy. Now that it's coming out and coming to surface, I probably will. I will get up. I will get it done in some fashion. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can write a line and call it journaling because I get to call it that. Like one push-up.
That's really good. I'm sorry. I have a tendency.
No, you're okay. Keep going.
Something pops open and it pops right out of my mouth. But that's
I want to hear it.
Because like you said, it's what you call it. Some people say, well, journal, I need to journal, a whole page or I need to get, and I've got 2 or 3 of them, special thing, so so and put down the things that you're grateful for and add this in the schedule. And it's like, it makes you, for some people, they need that guidance to kind of help them, those prompts to help them. But you get to define what it is that you call journaling. You get, how do you do your meditation? What type of meditation do you do?
I sit in the morning in quiet. I don't do guided. I used to do guided, but I find myself just falling asleep. Like, really, I don't think I'm good at meditation at all. Like, I know it helps me.
All the people who meditate, that's fine. That's a part of the practice, right?
Exactly.
Getting away and then coming back. Yeah.
It somehow, some way, I know it's doing something, and however that works, I'm okay with it. Like, it comes back to nobody gets to tell you how to meditate, what works for you, right? Like, there is no good or bad way. And that's also how I train, like how I personal train people or coach people or whatever it is that I'm doing is, well, what's a good way to do a push-up? It doesn't freaking matter. Just get it done, right? Like,
right. If it's on the knees, or if it's whatever, you don't have the upper body strength or whatever. Now,
right.
When you personal train, this is a good question. Do you look at the body types and endomorph, ectomorph, mesomorph? I mean, are you doing that? Okay. So
no, not really. I mean, yes and no, but man, like nothing. I promise you, after now, like I'm 996 days in a row of my own program. And now we'll probably get into year 2, creating another year of workouts of the day. But consistency is it. Like, it does not matter what body type you are. I promise you, the ripple effect from consistency is it.
And the 5 to 6 minutes a day is enough?
Dude, okay, so
I'm just
talking about this.
Okay,
so you're going hard in the paint, right? Like, it's a basketball reference. I don't even like basketball, but I like to say hard in the paint. It's really fun. But anyway, so when you're going hard, it's January, February, you're going 3 times a week because, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Like, those are the dumb days to go. But and then here's February falls around. Okay, Monday and Wednesday, because Fridays, like, we got stuff starting to go on. It's February, so now I'm at Monday, Wednesday for an hour. Add up all of that time, and then I still got you beat by 7.5 hours in a year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So because you are going at least 5, 6 minutes a day.
5-6 minutes a day for 365 days.
Wow.
Yeah. I did the math.
So you do the minimum of 5-6 minutes a day. Some days I'm pretty sure you do more than that, right? You're able to do something, but you've got 2 young kids. So I've seen, the youngest one, he's crawling and grabbing the phone and everything.
So 2 young kids in the videos. Now they're going to be 7 and 9, right? Wow. And then the baby came along now. So like, I have a 1-year-old. So now we have 3 kids, and he actually makes a debut in like 386 or something like that. WOD number 386. But it's cool because I'm reminded so much. I'm so glad I had them a part of it, because I get to see them when they were really little, before all the sass and attitude that I get nowadays. But so
I get the consistency is key. Now, I'm also of the opinion, and I know this is not like a fitness kind of thing, it's more mindset, but I think mindset, as it relates to fitness, for some people, they said that was the breakthrough, for them, that made them, successful in other areas of their life. I mean, did you always know that you wanted to be an exercise physiologist, or?
No, not at all. No, I started college as an architecture major. Well, here, let's go. Like, that's where I started. But like, I found out real quick that I didn't really like it. I liked two things, right? Like in college, I liked two things. I liked partying and I liked lifting weights. Like that was it. And I was terrible at learning anything. And I mean, I have ADHD. I still take Adderall. Like I'm on the lookout for, not taking Adderall, but like, there was a product a while back. I loved it. And then they stopped making it, but it is like, did I always want to be an exercise physiologist? Not at all, right? Like I was in a fraternity and those guys saved my life. Sigma Nu, shout out to them. Anybody's listening, join the fraternity. Make sure that, it's right for you. But those guys did. They sat me down. They gave me a mini intervention. Like, dude, you party too much.
Okay, so that was, okay, cool. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then they said, what do you like to do? And that's where I told them, I'm like, guys, I love partying with you guys. Okay, well, what else do you like to do? And I was like, I like to lift weights. And then they helped me kind of pursue that. But it was from there, it was like, oh, you can make a career out of this. And in the cities, had we stayed, I'm fairly sure I'd still be, in the same spot working in, somewhat of a nonprofit sector and stuff like that. But we wanted to, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's all right. We wanted to raise our kids in an area that it was either my hometown, which is Mitchell, South Dakota, or my wife's hometown, Roseau, Minnesota. So, that's why that was the big move. And I felt that deep down, like my gut, like ask anybody I know, especially my wife, I'm wrong 99% of the time. Okay. Right. But I get 1%, and half of that percent is exercise, health, wellness, mindset. Right. And the decision to move to Roseau was mine. I own that. I'm right on that.
I got you. I want to go back to something else that you said before, and I want to get to nutrition for a half a second.
Yeah.
Some of the questions, but you mentioned that you did the journaling, you did the talk therapy, whatever.
Yeah.
And you said, I don't normally do that all together in that 1 hour that I get in the morning, but
right.
I do it throughout the day. Is that correct? You do it throughout the day. So as long as it's done during the day, then you are going to do meditation.
So the meditation and the writing happen pretty close together. The exercise is shortly after, but the talk therapy is actually in the car, right? So like on my way to work or on my way home from work, that's when I do that. Like you can kind of hear the background. Like, I suppose I could hook up my mic, because I do a podcast with a friend of mine, the same, what do you want to call it? Conceptual way, okay, right? Cool. Like that one, I'm going to throw that out there if you don't mind. That one is
what's the podcast? What's the podcast?
It's called Off the Cuff.
Okay.
And if you're on Anchor anywhere, you can just search Off the Cuff Jed Cody, and it's the same concept. Like it's just two dudes hanging out, hitting record. Like imagine you hanging with your friends, right? And you have an awesome conversation, and you're like, dang, I really wish we would have got that, somehow captured. Well, that's what Cody and I do. Like we just hang out, talk about anything and everything. I mean, we're a little out there when it comes to meditation and like our belief systems, but it's just us hanging out. Like
let's talk about your belief systems. Where did that come from? How did that get informed? Did it change, since you were young? How talk to me about your current belief system and then how you evolved there.
I've always been weird. Since I can remember, I've just always been odd. Like, I don't even know how, like I've gotten to where I have, because I'm so weird. But within the last, probably since I started the WOD, since I started to like explore who I was and put it out there, that's where the belief system changed. Because then you really, as soon as you start having your own products, if you will, your own stuff that you're putting out there, you can either have thick skin or thin skin. I mean, sure, there's layers in between, but read the comments or don't, right? Like, what kind of person are you? And then really own that. And I've developed some really thick skin, always had it because I was a fat kid. So like, it didn't matter.
So you were an overweight kid. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You're bringing up so much, man. Every time we get, Okay, let me delve down. So
I know.
did you grow up Christian and then you evolved from there? So do you still
Catholic.
hold on to those
Yeah.
Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you still hold on to that, or are you?
Man, I want to say I've evolved, and I don't want to, no disrespect to anybody. I hate the word disrespect. I don't even know why I said
this is your journey. We're asking about your journey, so this is your journey. So
right, exactly. And man, I'm reading some crazy books right now that have challenged every single Catholic being that there is.
What are you reading?
Oh,
oh man, it's okay. It's all right.
It's for sure. So they're called Letters from 500. Like the first book is called Letters from 500, and it's a book about somebody who is tapped into right now, if you will, and this person talking to the author is 500 years in the future. And
is that like someone told me about? I had a friend some years ago who was a part of a group, and I forget the guy's name. I want to say he's William or something. And
Robert Lee Potter is the author, but
no, this is another.
Okay.
Who is
astrologically
somewhere else. I get it. Way out. So I get it. I understand that, again, no harm, no foul. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. But I get it. So Letters from 500. He's 500 years in the future.
Yep. It goes all sorts of directions. And but I'm on book 3. Like, coming from somebody ADHD, I don't read. I don't like to read. When I read, I really have to like take that sentence over and over and over before I can go,
I understand.
That was the word "the." Awesome. Got that one.
I have a very similar thing. I don't read. I listen to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. Those are my best ways.
And audiobooks. I'm like, come on, dude.
Well, here's the thing. For me, I recently picked up, multiple times a week, probably at my highest, probably 5 or 6 times a week, walk 5 miles, getting my 10,000 steps in.
There you go. Yeah.
So, it depends. If I'm in the woods, then I'm putting on an audiobook, or I'm listening to, a podcast, or somebody that I like that's like an hour and a half, because it takes me about an hour and a half to kind of do that walk, and I walk very slow. I read very slow. So, it is what it is. Now, thinking, that's totally different. I'm doing it, it's totally opposite. But yeah, I grew up from a reading perspective. I remember I was reading at least a grade or so below my grade level. At the same time, I was tested because I was a couple of points away from being gifted and talented at the same time. Exactly. So,
what? Right? Like, come at me.
But you might have dyslexia, so I don't know. Anyway, so that's my journey. Huh?
Yeah. You're a genius. Well, right. We all are genius.
Okay.
Right? We all are.
I got that. I got some genius.
Yeah.
Okay. So Letters from 500, you and your buddy, you guys talk about that together as a part of the podcast? Okay.
Well, and he has some tattoos that, like the third eye. There's some things where we just met when we first met.
Yeah.
He was coming from jail, right? So like, I went, my wife she would be like, who, what are you doing? And everybody knows everybody.
He's a weird. Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. People know who he is. He does have a history of drug use, and that gets brought up in episode 2. He tells his full life story. I'm talking no details left out, right? Like, he got done with it and he goes, "Thank you for letting me say all that." I'm like, holy mackerel, dude. Like,
well, it's
like aces.
Go ahead.
Well, aces for being alive. Like, nice job for surviving all of that. Like, I mean, there's so much. It's so inappropriate, but like, it's his story. I'm not going to stop and tell him don't do that. So
I think that's again the thing that I connected to in your talk therapy, because you curse.
Yeah.
Look, if you
like
catch me
terrible.
on the wrong
I'm
day,
really like, I don't want to curse right now. So I don't know what your, and like we said, we haven't prepped anything.
Yeah, we try.
So I don't know what your stuff is.
Yeah, thank you. We try to keep
Yeah.
kind of, PGG if we can.
Absolutely.
And,
I got you. Yeah.
But
I just didn't know I'm feeling where you're at. I'm like, okay, now I know. I can censor me, but if you don't censor you, well then I'm not going. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if you don't, I can follow that real easy, and I can also follow the other way around too. So all good. But yeah. But sorry.
No, that's good. It's very good.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I really connected to you to talk therapy was because you were so raw, you were so real, it was so like where you were. And I think that there is space, always space for someone who shares their full story, is able to own it, and then not be, I guess, powered by not powered or lorded by it. And when I say lorded by it, because sometimes you share things, pearls before swines, if I could use that analogy.
Oh yeah.
And then you get, like you said, thick skin or thin skin, and then variations in between. How do you do that? And there's some things, I know for myself, I tell some friends and associates, I said my dating life could do at least 2 books. I tell people stories and they're like, what? And I'm like,
dude, that's a podcast right there. Like, people don't understand that your stories.
I don't want to share those stories because I want to protect those that have been generous enough to share stories with me about.
But those stories like that in itself. So take what you wouldn't want to share, which is okay. I get that. But I guess what I would want everybody to really like get in your dome, right? Get in your being of you is you have a freaking story. Doesn't matter if you grew up like, I'm traditional. Like I really didn't think that I had anything to offer with Cody, because Cody, for the long, we're at season 2 is what we call it, year number 2. But anything that I do, I always try to monetize, man. Like it's like it has to be intentional, or else, I feel like my kids and my wife are missing out on me time, right? Like on me hanging out with them, and I'm hanging out, like vice versa. But like, I didn't think I had anything to offer at first, because I'm like, dude, I'm boring. Like I'm really boring. Like I go to work, I pay bills, I work out, and that's about it, right? Like, but then you start to really tell your story, and you're like, actually, I do a lot of stuff. Like, here, listen to this stuff. And that's what everybody has. Like, oh man, I wake up and I go to the bathroom, and then I get ready for the day, and then I sit and meditate, and then I do a journal, and then I, like really go through your day, record that, and then put it out there. Who knows what can happen? You inspire one person to change, boom, done.
That's really good. Michael Blanc is, has given me some good advice. Michael Blanc, you don't know who he is. Those who know who he is.
No.
But he is a mentor and a public figure, if you will, in the multifamily apartment investing space. So he has a company called Nighthawk they're probably closing in on 1,500, 2,000 units under management that they've purchased over time. And one of the things that he mentioned as I was starting my website and as I was starting my company, it's just like, well, Jonathan, figure out who your audience is. And I'm like, I don't know who my audience is. Whoever's going to give me money to help, let's get together and go and do this. And over time, I've made phone calls, talked to people, and met some really good people, met some okay people, met some people I probably just wouldn't want to do business with. And vice versa. They may not want to do business with me either.
Right.
Fine, right? But that's you have to go through that process in order to find, like who your tribe is and what you're doing. And one of the things that I've always heard, specifically with myself, my journey, I came from a Black Pentecostal upbringing. So if you saw the movie, I think it was called The Apostle that Steve Martin did.
Yes.
Right. Yes. That
wow.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
that brings it in quite a bit, actually. Okay.
Yeah, so that right there, it was my upbringing. So yeah, shouting, dancing, speaking in tongues, all that kind of good stuff, being slain in the spirit. And again, I'm still Pentecostal from my insides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I've
Right.
gone through, some I've gone to Bible churches, I've gone to Associate Reformed Presbyterian churches.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Billy Graham. I think he may have been ARP as well.
Okay.
And so it was so funny. We used to jokingly, and again, this is just a joke. We used to call ourselves
Right.
the Presbyterians. The
Oh,
Presbyterians.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, now I'm Lutheran, so like I'm just a lazy Catholic, right? That's what they call Lutheran. So like we're gonna go down that road.
Yeah, man. So, but I sit at a lot of intersections as well, and so sharing the story. There have been so many people in the past that have had some things to say about, and kind of shudder, whatever. I can shut down our entire room, and I was like, do I share that story or do I not share that story? But again,
Right.
those who really connect with you and like believe you're genuine and they'll connect with you. And again, with those stories and those situations, I want to honor all of those people by not sharing their names, but I do have a outlet that I'm using as kind of to do my own talk therapy sessions, if you will. Where I get to kind of put that out into the space and into the world in an anonymous fashion.
Cool.
So hopefully I'll continue that. And thank you for giving me some updates on that. I want to go back to one thing about nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
I think that nutrition is 80% of the way there in terms of doing it, and exercise is maybe 10, maybe 20%, of the
Sure.
food. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, especially with your consistency and doing the daily WODs and
Right.
education, so you can talk to
Dude. Okay, so this is my favorite. Like, I love the percentages of what it's supposed to be healthy, right? I love it because it like it's so and now I feel it in my being, like I'm almost in tears. Like I can feel it. It's such a cool. I live it, man. Like I'm so into it. Almost 1,000 days there. It doesn't, like my boss. He's a good dude. I look up to him a lot, and I go, I'm almost at 1,000 days in a row. And he's like, oh yeah, then what? And I'm like, I guess 1,001 is next. So like, it was cool. So anyway, so it's just so I can speak to it so hard because my 3 favorite foods are these in order: pizza, cake, and ice cream.
My brother.
Right. If you can combine 2 and 3 together in one, that's called an ice cream cake, right? So hook me up. I eat pizza once a week, twice a week, if not 3 times a week. I eat some cake. I eat cookies. I mean, like, there is no percentage. There is no percentage of nutrition or working out. Like, I hate to like steal something from Gary Vaynerchuk, but the dude's got it, right? Like I really self-awareness. Like how else would you really like I start my training with the physical piece because it's so easy, right? Like it's the easiest route with somebody. Be like, and it's kind of like a magic trick. It's this slide, like it's like smoke and mirrors. And I'll say, yes, this is a trick for you. Okay. Like I'll tell you straight up that I'm going to trick you into paying me to train you. That's something you can do on your own. Just so you know, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and lunges don't require anything except for you to show up, right? So as far as the nutrition goes, you don't need it. Like there's no amount of information. And now this is me learning this. Like I took how many years of nutrition, how many years of exercise physiology? I use that, but not nearly as much as I use like my deep down nowadays. And that's what I feel like I'm teaching people.
Say deep down, it sounds like you're talking about mindfulness, but what do you mean you're deep down?
It just depends. So like I've read a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza books. He does a lot of EEGs, the basically brain scans, right? if you feel something in the front of your head, that's your frontal lobe, right? Like is your thinking. And that is your analytical mind. That's the piece of your mind that's going, let's not do that today. Let's do that tomorrow. Let's have that full bowl of ice cream right now, because that's what I feel like. And you're feeling that here, right? Right. Like in the mind, that's why I do the talk therapy, to get out of that. If you can get into your heart, that's where I feel like deep down, it's not like the front of your body to the back of your body. Your heart is an endless void, right? And if it is open, it is ready to receive, always. And I'm making these words up right now. Like, this is just how I feel. Never really explained it like this before. So I'm loving it. But anyway, so it is that. When I say deep down, that's where I feel it. I feel it right in my chest. And I know.
What do you feel? And
my heart beats hard. I can feel my heartbeat. And like, it's a physiological feeling.
Not eat the ice cream and eat some salad, or what is it? What is it articulate?
I dig deeper into why, or like, not, no, I want to take that back into now what I'm learning is who, not why, okay. Because why just doesn't have an answer for the ego, right? For that voice. It's who do I need to become, or who wants that ice cream? If I can identify as somebody who does not eat ice cream after 8 p.m., I have just given my ego that voice, that person in the mirror that says, you're going to have a boatload of that, and you're never going to be healthy. You're never going to look good. And then you can say, well, I just identified, aka given you something that you always want. Identity, to feel safe, because this is who I am. As soon as you start to say, I'm going to identify with somebody who doesn't eat ice cream after 8 p.m., it's going to go, oh, okay. Because that's your subconscious, and that's how it works.
Let me see if I get this together.
It's okay. Yeah, there's a lot. That was a lot.
So with respect to nutrition, it's not.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make up words too. So
do it up. Yeah.
Okay. So generally, they say it's 80% nutrition, 20% exercise, and you're saying that's great, but no one is who's worth their salt. Like, you went to school for exercise physiology. It's a trick. Yeah. I'm tricking you, and I love that you're saying this. I want to write a check to you now, send you a cash app for that. No, because that's real. I mean, and not get anything else out of it, because it's like, you are tricking me to pay you for exercises that I can do myself. Don't need to be in a gym. Don't need to pay for a gym membership. Yeah. I do body weight exercises. Basically, that's what the WODs are, right? They're body weight.
Dude, okay. Let me interrupt you for a second. Look at this. Like, I know you see. Look at this. This is a bicep, right? When's the last time I did? God, honest truth. When's the last time I did a bicep curl? Let's say about 8 years ago. I don't do bicep curls.
Is it your physiology? Is it your genetics? Is it your genetics that are like, okay? It's your
consistency. It's the consistency. It is the you use the muscles, like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges. That's it. And then I just take little tweaks, and like, instead of a lunge, do a back lunge, do a side lunge, do a trickier lunge. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Got it.
It's the same movement. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. So then a personal trainer is going to say, here is a meal plan for you, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And all of this stuff is external motivation, which is not going to motivate the internal person to do anything.
Bingo.
Okay, so then the talk therapy for yourself, and that you would say recommend to someone else, right? Get the basically as they are paying you to do it, help them to do exercises. Hey, go do some talk therapy to get out of your prefrontal cortex, right?
Yes.
And into the deep part of your knowing, your heart, as it were, right?
Yeah.
Where then you can identify what the cravings are, or what's really happening that causes that. Because I know for myself, there are times, well, I'll share it right here on the podcast. I'm 5'6", 260 some pounds. I think I jumped on with all my clothes, and it was 267 pounds as of the time that we're recording this. And I was talking to a medical professional. We were doing some things, getting some things, whatever. And I said, for me, it's not like, for instance, I wanted to do IF, intermittent fasting, and I want to stop eating at 6 o'clock. Well, after 6 o'clock, times, it's like, it's not that I'm hungry. So a lot of times, most of the times it is just, oh, there's a taste. There's some chips and dip in there. You know what I mean? That's, I'm on whatever. But to pause, to do your talk therapy as a way of being able to get to your heart, to identify where the craving is coming from, not why the craving, but who the craving, who's craving, right? The chips.
Exactly.
That will help me to be able to say, I don't identify with that. Now that goes back to my own goal setting, right?
Yeah.
Because when we goal set, it seems like we're doing it from at least for me. It's from an external space, not fully getting out of the prefrontal cortex by doing some talk therapy, getting to
Jonathan, you're doing it.
This is what I really want. There are some things that come out of that. This is what I really want.
Yeah.
But it's like, who do you have to become? And I've heard that before, but sometimes clearing out the space to be able to do those hard things, to do those tasks, pick up the phone and call that 500 people who are on your list becomes very challenging. And so I think, and this is the reason why I wanted to do this interview, because it's a mindset thing. It's and it's not connected to, multifamily. You got to do it, go to, for some people that works. And trust me, I've read a lot of that. I've listened to a lot of that. I've watched Jim Rohn multiple times. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who at the last part of Jim Rohn's life, who managed him, right, and brought him around. I know him, and I thought about him after I said, I was like, I could interview him, but I'm loving this right here. But I'm loving this right now because this is good. This is going to challenge me to do some things, and I'm thinking of some things right now. I don't want to put out in the ether, but I'll put it out on this podcast right now. I am thinking about, as I put it on my website, jonathanmickles.com, my own personal website. Doing your 30-day WOD, right? Because you have the first 30 WOD, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Instead of doing all 6 rounds, do that 1 round for that, because I need to get that T-shirt.
There you go. Yeah, dude, the battle WODs. Yep.
The battle WODs, right? And get the T-shirt, but then like track my weight, because I actually have. I just bought a Renfo scale, right?
Okay.
I had a Fitbit Aria. Great scale, connected, tracking everything, because it's Bluetooth, it connects to Fitbit, and then you can see all these things at the time. But when I would either gain or lose weight, I didn't know what I was gaining or losing. Meaning, was I gaining water? Was I gaining muscle? Was I actually losing fat? And so
if I could speak to that real fast, two things come to right now, right? Okay. So 2 things. Measure it, if you can measure it, right? If you can track it and measure it, you know where you're at. Everything needs a baseline, right? It doesn't matter if it's health, wellness, finances, everything. Like, everything needs a baseline. And that's why I post every day to say, this is the day, this is day 995. Doesn't matter, because everything needs a day 1, because then you have an ending, right? You have to know your baseline. Well, how strong are you? I don't know. Doesn't matter. What matters to me is how many days in a row. That motivates me. That's enough for me. But then 2, okay, you say you have a scale of Fitbit and whatever it is that a person has.
Or a ring.
Ring. Yeah. Everything, right? Everything will work. Everything.
Everything will work if I hear if. I don't know.
Exactly. Wait for it, right?
If, but go ahead.
If, right? Everything will work as long as you use it.
Well, I use it, but if I'm not doing anything for it, okay,
right? I bought I don't buy anything, but like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges. I buy little trinket things like a mini Bosu or an exercise band or something like that. A Bosu is called, it stands for both sides up. It's the blue bubble, the half ball, right?
Oh yeah. I got you.
Yeah. I buy stuff like that, just the little,
Yeah.
But when somebody tells me, oh, I bought a Peloton, I'm gonna put Peloton on blast. Go buy a freaking spin bike and tape an iPad to it, please. Like, that's all you have. I have a mirror, right? Go buy a $2 mirror from the dollar store and tape an iPad to it, please. Like, everything will work. Everything. As long as you use it. That's what this word is, right? I think I'm backwards because I'm on like front.
No, you're good. It says
all right, good.
Is greater than intensity, and that's on the top of his hat for those who are listening to the podcast.
Yeah, and that's like every tool, everything. It's a tool. Like, if I buy a hammer and I want to build a house and I don't use the hammer, I'm gonna say, well, that hammer didn't work. That was a dumb hammer.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the fitness industry. And in any industry. Like, oh, did you use it? Did you like really use it every day? Did you find a way that it worked for you? Did you really exhaust every single possibility to think that worked or didn't work for you? Nobody does that. And especially in today's day.
Got it.
Most people won't. They don't get me because I say 1,000 days in a row. They're like, what? And then I know where they're at, and that's okay.
Yeah, but it's not 1,000. It's not 1,000 days at an hour a pop. It's 1,000 days at 5, 6, 7 minutes a day.
Right, and they can't get that either. They don't understand. Well, there can't be any benefit in that. Oh,
I remember a gentleman who was a cobbler. He fixes shoes.
Sure.
And I remember exactly what when you just showed your bicep there, and he has a bicep.
Right. There it is.
He was like a rock hard type of guy. I remember seeing him in summer times. He was there helping his dad. He was an older gentleman, but he was helping his father. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? He says, I just do calisthenics in the morning, which is basically exactly what you're saying. He does it every day.
Yeah.
So
now, don't be wrong. Again, I'm not magazine ready, right? I have the wherewithal to get there. Man, it wouldn't take that much of a tweak. I'm probably sitting at, between 12 and 15% body fat, depending on how much pizza, cake, and ice cream I'm at, right? But like
12 and 15% body fat, that's nothing. You could just, intermittent fast for a little while, drink a bunch of water,
Yeah, like I'm my size of waist, like my pants are at 30, sometimes 32, right? So like.
So you mentioned you were a fat kid, so that's where I gotta go because
Yeah.
So, let me go back to what I was going to say. What I said I was going to think about doing as I redesign my website is to do your WODs, record myself doing the 30 WODs, right? And then also taking a snapshot of my Renfo scale measurements every day, posting all of that as a daily journal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe some jot some thoughts as a journal, as a way of doing a WOD and saying, boom, I'm doing this WOD, bam, it's out there.
Right.
If anybody wants to join or not join, and if they have comments, let them comment and just go from there, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely afraid of that because I'm like, I don't want to put myself out there. But anyway, you said you were a fat kid. Talk to me about that journey. How did you move on? Because, you went from being fat kid to being in college saying, I love to lift weights and party.
Yeah. Major transition there for sure. The story is, like, I love playing video games and eating all food. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I played video games for, what was it? My longest stint was like 8 hours. I beat the game called Metal Gear Solid, like the very first PlayStation 1, before internet cheat codes, the works. Like, I played that sucker through and through, beat it. And that's where I was like, okay, well, I know I'm weird because I just beat that game. Then I went on these chat forums or whatever that they were called back then. And people are like, I don't even know how I figured all this out. I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, I did it all. So anyway, that was me. That was nerdy. Like, I'm still a nerd, but in a different way.
Yep.
And just sit on my butt. And in South Dakota, at least it used to be, like, I could get my driver's license at 13. So I wanted to get my license and get a car. And my parents are like, great, well, get a job. I'm like, oh, well, that sucks. So I got a job where my dad worked. And because I figured, well, I'll just, slough off, do nothing.
What type of work was it?
So I don't know why they hired me, because I didn't know a Phillips head screwdriver from a plier, right? Like,
so what was it carpentry? Was it auto mechanic work, or
all the above? It was a camper dealership. So I was all of a sudden a shop technician with no experience. And man, that first summer, I got yelled at so much. And I went up to my dad and I'm like, Dad, why don't you tell him to stop yelling at me? And he goes, because he's right. Like,
you don't know what the heck
you're screwing around. Like, get to work. But I was always the kid. My older brother got to work on the cars and I got to hold the flashlight. I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm going inside. I'm done. I don't want to do this. Yeah. So got that job and I lost 50 pounds that summer. And dude, all you do is start moving. Like, you move more. Yes, as far as percentage of like move more, eat less, lose weight, it doesn't always work like that. But it can, if you're sitting on your butt and being honest with yourself. Dude, that's all I did was play video games and eat crappy food. I rode my bike around. Yeah. And, as a kid, 2 blocks was enough for me. But, when you start really working from 6, 7 in the morning and you don't stop moving until about noon, and then you eat some lunch and sit down for maybe 15, 20 minutes and you get back at it for another 5, 6 hours, it's just how it's going to work. Yeah. People aren't honest with themselves up here enough to say, oh, I don't eat very much. The other piece of that is you gotta, that's what happened to me from 8th grade to 9th grade. That's when it changed.
So another thing about, you mentioned you're playing video games and you were eating and sitting on your butt. You did, and you went to work. You did not have the opportunity to eat as much because you were working.
Exactly. I had to work, or else I got yelled at by the shop foreman, right? Like,
and you wanted to get a car. Yeah, and you wanted to get a car and get your license. So that was something that did it. And so for a lot of us, we're desk jockeys is what I call it. Right? Yeah. You're at the desk and you're eating. Like, I was doing things the other day, and I was on a I had some wind and I was up till like 5 o'clock in the morning, but I went and got chips and cheese dip. And I'm like, you gotta stop doing that. But I was like, oh, I'm working and eating it. But I get it. That made sense. So you said from the 8th grade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To the 9th grade, that's where I learned. That summer, I lost all that weight, and then it was game on. I started wrestling in 8th grade. Okay. Went from wrestling like, pretty heavy guys all the way down to 152. Like, I was almost up to 230 pounds, and then it went down to 152. Wow. Because, I started wrestling, you start losing weight, you start having to lose weight and figure out what works for your body. But that wasn't, I did it way unhealthy. I went from 189 pounds to 150 pounds in a week, and that was not healthy. But, my parents, they did not like that at all. I was just saying, screw that, I'm going to do it anyway. But that's just who I was. But the other key aspect is it's such a tedious, dumb, really hard thing to do. But I'm glad I did it. In college, my nutrition teacher, professor, whatever, she made us track our calories for a month. Oh my gosh, there's nothing more annoying than tracking calories. And it sucks. But here's the best part of today, right? I didn't have Google. doing that. I had to look at all of literally fingering my way through a book, right? Like, how wasteful of time is that? I'm not saying it's a waste of time to look in a book, but like, and people get so hung up on, it's the same concept for everything. Like Google broccoli calories, go, right? And if you're like 75% accurate with how much you're actually taking in, awesome.
So
even if it's 50%.
75% accurate, okay, that's good. So someone said the tracking calorie, I heard this somewhere, the tracking calories is a good way to basically titrate the number of calories that you're eating, because you're having to track them and put them out there. Is that the rationale, the reason why your professor said to track calories?
No, it increases the awareness on how much you actually put in your mouth.
It just increases the awareness. Okay. But then the result is you'll start to put less stuff in your mouth. Yes? No?
Exactly. Yes. Because then three heaping spoons of yogurt turns into, well, maybe I'll use a smaller spoon. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. Let me try it. Right. But like, there's that piece of it. But what I really, when you commit to it, actually, like, how much do I take in every day? I haven't done it since, but like, I get it. and I don't want to do it for anybody else. That's why I don't really, well, let's talk nutrition. It's like, that is one of those things that I cannot help people with, because you are not honest with me with how much you actually freaking eat. And that was a solid censor right here, because I about threw it out there. Like, you're not, nobody is. You're not. Like, unless you are writing every single thing you put in your mouth down, it's not accurate.
Sometimes and you don't find some of those things that you put in your mouth. You got a little candy jar at so-and-so's and whatever, and you had a handful of this, and then you had 5 or 6 pieces of that, and you did it. I mean, exactly. I mean, now I use Chronometer right now. I mean, I was using my FitnessPal, but Chronometer was touted from the keto group, as like because they actually verify a lot of the food, if you will, that are put in there, and they go all the way down to a lot of the macronutrient level Chronometer. But sometimes it's been challenging using even a digital scale for some of the things that I've been looking at, right, and doing those kale shakes from time to time. And so again, not another plug, because again, this podcast is not supported by Renfro, but I've been looking at the because they have a Bluetooth scale as well, where as you're putting on the broccoli, that's broccoli, and then it goes into whatever their system is. But okay, got nutrition. Understand.
Well, so one last thing about the nutrition is like, when you actually, if somebody isn't going to go that route, right? Like really get techie with it. If they just want to go general, all you need is Google. All you need is the first thing that pops up. How much is one handful?
Now, should they be tracking at the macro level, meaning this amount of carbs, amount of fat, or just the amount of calories?
Just the calories. Like it just depends too. Like if you really want to go, like, again, it's the self-awareness on how far you want to go with it. If you're lazy like me, dude, I'm lazy. I will find the easiest way, the least, we're human. We find the least amount of resistance possible to get something done. It's how it works. But if you want to be consistent, that's the key. And the most sustainable way to change is the least amount of resistance. Like, sustainable change requires the least amount of resistance, because if you change too much, the exponential growth eventually crashes, right? You change too fast, too hard, and you crash. That's why it goes up in a linear line. It's the consistency piece.
So I've heard some people say we go cold turkey and do all these things and whatever, but I know cold turkey does not work but for a small percentage of people. It does not work for everyone. Why we have yearly rushes to the gym in January and February, right? Is because we're not.
Because they quit cold turkey. They quit their old lifestyle, quote unquote, old lifestyle, cold turkey. That's not going to work. Like, it took me 5 times to quit smoking. Like, I was smoking up to 2 packs a day while I was in school for exercise physiology, right? Like, walking home from 2.5 hours at the gym, smoking a cigarette. I'm like, this is probably a dumb thing. Like, I have no credibility right now. Going to a dentist with bad teeth, right? You'd be like, dude, you need to brush your teeth more. Like, look in the mirror, pal. Brush your teeth more. Like, I'm not coming back to you. So, but that's my client. Like you said, your mentor said, who's your audience? My audience is not Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not telling that guy what to do. He's an athlete.
So then are you asking people, you're tracking calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you giving them like, based on your BMR, you should be at, 17 basal metabolic rate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Energy that it takes for your body to function at the level that you're at right now, based on your height and your weight, right?
So you can, right? I can, but you, also known as everybody else in this world, maybe not everybody, right? But most people have access to Google and they can do those types of searches, like.
Got it. So then do you say, okay, well, go Google and find out what your BMR is and eat that, or eat 20% less than that? I mean, is that
right? I am a learn by doer, and that's my audience. Like, if you're not willing, and that's if you're willing to change from the neck up, you will change from the neck down. If you're not willing to do something, then I can help you, right? Like, I have all the answers. No, I don't. I have all the answers for me. I don't have all the answers for you.
Got it. Like, I know what my BMR is, right?
Yeah.
So am I doing 20% less than that, or am I just supposed to hit the number? You know what I mean? Is that the kind of, advice?
For sure. It just depends, right? So like if a person sits on their computer all day, then your energy output, right, is not much. So you really don't need much for input, also known as food, right? So there isn't a ton that you would require. Your basal metabolic rate gives you the ability to breathe, circulate blood, think, digest food, stuff like that. But if you're not moving, then boy, you don't need anything really. Like, trust me, you will not die. Like, drink a ton of water and you could probably fast for 3-4 days. Your mind will beat the crap out of you.
Oh, heck yes.
That.
I know about that. Yeah.
Right. But your body won't do anything as long as you're hydrated, man. Like, you won't die. But it will feel like it.
I understand. Well, we talk probably the longest of anybody I've interviewed in about a year or so. Cool. 30 or 40 episodes that we've done so far. And I am very grateful that you, again, out of the blue, I hit you up after a minute of listening to Talk Therapy and, seeing you on the timeline from time to time. And you came to have a very generous conversation in your time. And I can't be more appreciative of such a thing. But what I want to do is I want to do 2 things. I want to know, one, how can people get in contact with you? And then number 2, our last segment is that we give people the boot. And given that this is the mindset series, what we talk about giving the boot is giving somebody that prod, that push. You've given us a lot of gems already, but is there something that you would, as a final word, give somebody as an update? But let's first talk about how can people get in contact with you?
It is the 8 steps to break free, but everything, like, there's so many ways. Social media is easy. It's Jed Kobernusz. Everything is at jedkobernusz.com.
Can you spell that name for us? Spell your last name. Jed is we got that.
JED, that's the easy one, but Kobernusz, KOBERNUSZ.com.
Which socials are you on? Which socials are you on?
All of them. I mean, there, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. What is that? What is that one? The Clubhouse.
Okay, cool. It's great.
I mean, anything, as soon as I see it, I'm on it, because you just never know. Somebody's going to go, oh, hey, there's that dude. You know, who is that guy? You know, like you did. Like, oh, look at that talk there. What is this talk there? You know, who knows? But any one of them, search at Jed Kobernusz, and most likely I'm there, and send me a message. You know, I'm more than willing. But everything that I do is always pointing at jedkobernusz.com, and my email is there. It's ygt@jedkobernusz.com. And I welcome anybody. I mean, if you're willing, that's all I ask. And I'm willing to. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of me. And the boot. Ooh, I like that. That is fun. That is really cool. The boot. Whatever you're gonna do it for your 96 or 100-year-old self.
Talk about that.
What I mean is if you go, and there's a WOD that has this on here. If you go onto Google and find a countdown timer by calendar date, it will show you. Okay, so my birth date is 2/12/1985. I'll throw it out there. I don't care. Like February 12th, 1985. I have looked up February 12th, 2085. Right? That's 100 years. And then I hit countdown timer. How many days, how much time is it from now until then? And that's time ticking down. Because I figure if I live to be 100 years, awesome. Right? Like I'll be grateful for that. So whatever you're doing, do it for that person, and not for 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 120 days from now. Do it for the long haul. Yeah.
Well, I was not expecting all of this. I am no one else. I have gotten something out of this, and I thank you again for being
glad.
Anything that I can do to help support your platforms, or be on your other podcasts with you and Cody, please feel free to let me.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I'm open, man.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Listen, everybody, thank you again for joining us for this podcast. Please reach out to to Jed Kobernusz on all the socials.
There you go.
JedKobernusz.com as well. And again, thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Yeah.